Ebby Lake in West Xinjiang has to be one of the most windy places in China. The long, windy season in this area begins in spring, and then, for nearly half the year, the winds that blow across the lake are around gale force level 6. As the temperature increases, the colubrid snake wakes from its winter slumber. And the snakes aren't the only ones. After the long, dead, dry winter months, the winds seem to bring a breath of life to the region. Soon blooming flowers sway in the wind, and the sky is filled with birds on the wing. It's April. Winter still lingers in the forests of the Great Aching'an Range, with the temperature still reaching as low as -20 degrees Celsius. Roaming in the forest is a Siberian weasel. Due to its extremely keen sense of smell, no potential prey can escape its notice, even if it's hidden under the snow. Although the forest is still covered with snow, slowly but surely spring is approaching. As they get ready for the coming mating season, the normally nocturnal owls, seldom seen during the day, cavort and preen themselves during daylight hours. Of all the owls, the hawk owl is the fastest. With the coming of spring, these owls migrate northwards to breed deep in the snowy forests near the Arctic Circle. The daytime temperature has risen above zero. Under the sunlight, the frozen river is melting. Although evidence of winter still remains, spring is now well on the way. The wood rat doesn't hibernate. Having eaten up the nuts it stored away in the autumn, it decides to leave its shelter under the snow and move to sunnier places in search of any nuts that are left. While feasting on the delicious nuts, the wood rat temporarily lets down its guard. High up in the branches of a tree, an ever-watchful predator watches and waits. The hawk owl's unique eye structure enables it to adapt to strong light during the day, while still being able to see everything clearly at night. It's a hunter that can stay alert 24 hours a day. The hawk owl has spotted the wood rat that is busy searching for nuts. The game is about to begin. The wood rat, however, notices the predator flapping in the air and flees. A lucky escape. With each passing day, more and more birds return to the Greater Khingan Range, another sure sign that spring is fast approaching. During winter and spring, the weather in the mountains is relatively unstable. The Greater Khingan Range is the northernmost area reached by warm and humid air from the Pacific reaches. However, the area is also subject to cold air currents from Siberia that seem to suddenly come from nowhere. When that happens, the temperature drops in an instant and the entire forest returns to winter conditions. The sudden drop in temperature catches the wood rat off guard. It's frozen stiff. For the hawk owl, it's a heaven-sent opportunity. It moves fast. As a skilled aerial hunter, it can glide, hover, or skim quickly overhead. With its vast natural forest at the northern end of China, the Greater Khingan Range is home to an uncountable number of fascinating lives. Intensive logging has been going on here for more than half a century. When spring arrives, however, all logging activities will come to a halt. There was a time when logging here provided China with half its total supply of wood. But now the forest is given a chance to recuperate. The Duco sago palm is a rare species found nowhere else on Earth except Sichuan and Yunnan. They've been around for some 280 million years, ever since the Carboniferous period, truly living fossils. In late April, the male cycad is the first plant to put forth its blossoms. It blooms every year, whereas the female cycad once every 2 years. Interestingly, they don't share the same blooming period. The female cycads bloom a month later than their male counterparts. Ants gather on the cones of the male cycad and begin hunting. Their prey is the larvae of the gossamer winged butterfly. These larvae can munch their way through even the toughest leaves, like the cycads. Compared with a single ant, the larva is huge. One ant alone can be no match for it. The ant must call in some helpers and fight the larva together. A team of ants work together to drive the larva out. They climb into the cycad cone and gently tap the larva. In response, the larva secretes sugar-rich honeydew, which for the ants is a delicacy. They milk the larva for as much as they can get. The Duco sago palm is a unique species found in the dry, hot valley of the Jinsha River. By the end of April, the temperature in the valley has reached up to 35 degrees Celsius. Like the Duco sago palm, the entire river valley has to find ways to cope with this test of high temperature. The hot and dry weather turns the valley into a fire pit ready to be ignited. Daily helicopter patrols keep a close watch out for any potential fires. The number of wildfires in the Panjihua part of the valley accounts for half the total number of wildfires in Sichuan province. However, in the mountains, it's difficult to guard against wildfires, especially when they move at a speed of around 11 kilometers per hour. A foehn is a burning wind that causes plants to become extremely dry. Each month, the Panjihua section of the dry, hot valley alone sees 10 forest fires, one every 3 days on average. To deal with this threat, nearly 5,000 forest firefighters are stationed here in Sichuan's Panjihua. High-pressure air flowing from the Qinghai Tibetan Plateau descends into the deep-cut canyon of the Jinsha River. Once it arrives, the air temperature rises by more than 20 degrees, forming a dry, hot wind that blows across the river valley. A month has passed, and the cones of the female cycad are blossoming. The female cones have a unique structure. Due to its adoption of wind-borne pollination, the cones of the female are covered in a fine fluff. This increases the surface area, enhancing the chance of capturing pollen delivered by the wind. The Duko sago palm is a primitive species. When it comes to reproduction, it has a very low success rate. The male relies on the wind for pollen dispersal. To successfully capture some of the pollen, the female cones need a bit of luck. In the end, the survival of the species depends on the wind. The winds that blow across China's vast territory flow in many different ways, forming a variety of climatic patterns. In the regions south of the Yangtze River, April marks the beginning of the monsoon season. Spring here has always been described in the most beautiful words. Even though China's economy is developing rapidly, life in this part of the country still remains fairly traditional. People organize their daily lives according to the sun-based traditions that have been followed for thousands of years. In traditional Chinese culture, the mandarin duck is an auspicious bird. And right now, they are flocking together at Wuyuan Mandarin Duck Lake, the world's largest wintering ground for wild mandarin ducks. The mandarin duck is a migratory bird. From its wintering area to its breeding ground, its migration in China traces exactly the path of the monsoon. A large flock of mandarin ducks is flying northward with the monsoon on a migration route nearly 1,000 kilometers long. Their destination is the snow-covered Changbai Mountains, which would seem the complete opposite of the warm and humid region south of the Yangtze River. However, the route they follow is covered in broadleaf forests. These forests are one of the ecological features of China's temperate monsoon regions. The mandarin ducks choose this stream in the Changbai Mountains as their breeding ground because they nest in the tree holes. The vast, primitive, broadleaf forest provides a perfect refuge for their next generation. Now that the snow cover is melting away, water in the stream is increasing. In East China, the monsoon season brings an abundance of rainfall. The criss-crossing rivers nourish the plains downstream, making East China one of the world's most habitable regions. In the ice-cold stream, female mandarin ducks begin their courtship ritual. It is warm and humid in the southeast of Tibet. With a vast tract of virgin forest, the scene here differs greatly compared with other places in the Qinghai Tibetan Plateau. Even at these higher altitudes, spring is making its presence felt. Everywhere, azaleas are in full bloom. All the way from southeast Tibet to the Hengduan Mountains, these azaleas decorate the most beautiful temperate forest in the world. They became known to the rest of the world in the 19th century. Today, they adorn gardens the world over. Warm and humid air from the Indian Ocean flows along the Yarlung-Zangbo Grand Canyon, bringing into these majestic mountains a rich system of life. When the monsoon winds whistle past the Sejila mountain, a hillside earlier covered with snow quickly becomes a celebration of the miracle of life. One miraculous plant is growing at a seemingly impossible rate. In less than a month, it can grow as tall as 2 meters. Here, at an altitude of 4,000 meters, the noble rhubarb truly is the king of plants. In June, this alpine meadow bursts into bloom, marking the beginning of a critical period. At a height of 4,000 meters above sea level, in order to multiply, the plants must compete fiercely. Most of them depend on insects for pollination. As the flowering season for alpine plants is short, the competition for insects becomes intense. With their bright colours and exotic scents, the plants put on a veritable carnival to attract the pollinators. But the noble rhubarb has its own secret weapon. In this season, warm and humid air flows from the Indian Ocean, and there really can be 4 seasons in a single day. In an hour or two, temperatures drop sharply by dozens of degrees until it reaches freezing point. The noble rhubarb, however, is equipped with a natural greenhouse system. It wraps its leaves around its body, forming a translucent but protective covering. Safely tucked away inside the warm, isolated world it has created for itself, it need have no fear of the harsh weather conditions outside. For a host of pollinating insects, this greenhouse proves irresistible. Soon, uninvited but welcome guests are arriving at the noble Rhubarb Hotel. First to check in is the honeybee. Tired out after flying in such a humid environment, finally it finds a place to rest. Passing through the stacked leaves, it finds the door to the hotel. Flowers rich in nectar bloom inside their own greenhouse. For the bee, this is nothing less than an air-conditioned, first-class restaurant. And in return for food and temporary lodgings, the bee helps the plant pollinate. It's an ideal mode of a symbiotic relationship between plant and animal. When it leaves, this diner will carry the pollen to places far away. It's the warm, moist, humid air of southeastern Tibet that makes the lives of the unique plants and animals that live here possible. "2,000 kilometers east of southeast Tibet, there are a number of islands in the East China Sea where the inhabitants are racing against the coming typhoon season. Jushan Islands are home to more than 1,000 crested terns. They must nurture their next generation before the typhoon season arrives. A typhoon, a strong storm that moves in from the sea, reaches up to 200 kilometers per hour. It can destroy everything in its wake. The greater crested terns with bright yellow beaks are the island's main residents. Chinese crested terns, which have black-tipped beaks, also make the island their home, but with a population of little more than 30, they are very much in the minority. Research indicates that there are just 50 or so of these rare and precious birds in the world, so whether or not they are successful this breeding season is of great significance. With the dangerous typhoon season just 2 months away, the schedule is tight. The terns must start brooding. Parents take turns sitting on the eggs. These birds live so densely together that they often take over the eggs of other birds by mistake. Disputes are commonplace, but while parents squabble vociferously, many eggs remain unattended. If they don't hatch on time, they will go bad. During the brooding season, the parents in these families take turns not only to sit on the eggs, but also to hunt for food. As Jushan Islands are situated in China's largest fishing ground, there's no lack of fish, and catching them is not particularly difficult. After brooding for 3 weeks, the chicks finally hatch out. This year, 19 Chinese crested tern chicks have joined the population. Being extremely rare, they are very precious indeed, almost mythological in status. If these 19 chicks could reach maturity, the total population of the species will increase by 40%, truly a major achievement. The first typhoon will arrive in a month. The chicks need to grow as quickly as possible so they can fly to safety with their parents. How fast a chick grows depends on how much it eats, and it seems like they are always hungry. As the feathers of the tern chicks have not yet fully developed, at all times one of their parents must remain behind to take care of them. This means that the one hunting for food must do twice the work. Finding your mate and offspring in a crowded place like this is far from easy. Using sounds, the parent that's been away hunting finally finds the rest of the family. It's time to have another meal. Taking no rest, the parents keep on fishing in the sea. Bringing up the next generation is never an easy job. An uninvited guest, in this case an egret, comes by, perhaps looking for food, or maybe just out of curiosity. Foreign species like this are rarely seen on the islands. Distressed, the tern parents fly off in haste, leaving their helpless chicks alone at home. It turns out to be a false alarm, and the crested terns quickly return home. However, the terrified chicks have fled, and now they can't find their way back. These chicks have been growing up under the protection of their parents and know nothing about the various dangers they may encounter. The mortality rate of newborn terns is as high as 30%, and becoming separated from parents is a common cause of chick deaths. At the 11th hour, however, the mother drops from the clouds. Clouds are now piling up over the sea. Low-pressure cyclones are taking shape, a sure sign that in the far seas a typhoon is forming. In less than a month, the little terns have nearly tripled their size. In fact, they're now almost the same size as their parents. However, as their flying feathers are not yet fully developed, they still depend on their parents to feed them. The waves hitting the shore are growing higher and stronger. The typhoon season will begin soon. The chicks have just 10 days to learn how to fly. From the time of their birth, they've been racing against time. They have no choice. They must learn to fly and leave this island with their parents for a place far removed from the path of the typhoon, a place where they can grow up in safety. "3,000 kilometers from the nearest stretch of coastline, it's hard to think of a more landlocked place than Xinjiang. The Karamili Desert, part of the Zhongar Basin, is home to Przewalski horses. Right now it's midsummer. The temperature in the desert is nearly 40 degrees Celsius. The wild animals in this desert region have to face and deal with severe challenges. The nest of a steppe eagle is situated on a small hillside. Inside the nest, 2 eaglets eagerly await their parents' return. They seem to be in constant need of food. Their parents have been away hunting since early this morning. It's now noon, and they still haven't returned. The hottest time of the day has come. Under the direct sunlight, the ground temperature relentlessly rises. With almost no shade or shelter, eaglets are rapidly dehydrating. Over time, the Przewalski horses have adapted perfectly to their life in the wilds of the Karamali Desert. 30 years ago, they had almost reached the point of extinction in the Jungar Basin, but they were released into nature once again and have begun anew their journey of reproduction. Under the scorching sun, a horse family sets out in search of water. For the Przewalski horses, this is a natural instinct. As it happens, they have a magical sense of smell and can recognize the smell of water in the wind. As night falls, the temperature drops rapidly across the Karamali. Finally, the two-step eaglets managed to stand on their feet. Weakened by heat and hunger, they are in desperate need of food to restore their energy. The mother returns to her nest with food. The two eaglets have become ravenous, as hungry as wolves, while their mother's been away. Sadly, she hasn't brought back enough food for them. The stronger eaglet has the privilege to eat first. Whenever there's a serious shortage of food, steppe eagles stop feeding the weak one to ensure that at least one chick will survive. It's a case of survival of the fittest. The eagle chicks have been in brutal competition with each other since they hatched. Whether or not an eaglet reaches maturity depends solely on the hard work of its mother. Thanks to their keen sense of smell and amazing endurance, the family of Przewalski's horses finally locates water after walking 50 kilometers in the hot desert. This is the only waterhole within 100 kilometers that hasn't yet dried up. Since being released into the wild, this family of Przewalski's horses has overcome many challenges. Little by little, it seems the natural instincts determined by their genes are returning. In summer, this waterhole relies on nothing but rainfall. As long as there is water, life will continue. The five-toed jerboa looks like a miniature kangaroo, and when it comes to jumping, it's the king of the desert. The jerboa chooses to locate its home on the side of the waterhole. It does so because the sand bed beside the waterhole is wetter, and this means it will be cooler underground. Pallas's sand grouse isn't a particularly good flyer. Strutting and taking small steps, it passes by sandy ground and bushes and finally arrives at the edge of the waterhole after a long, somewhat quirky tour on foot. All the creatures in this desert rely on this one small pool. The big-eared hedgehogs are endemic to arid regions of Central Asia. They live relatively nearby, and the area around the water pool is their territory. Hunting at the edge of the pool always proves rewarding. The desert is not, of course, completely desolate. It's a rich, wild world. The Karamili is one of China's most important reserves for ungulate and prey birds. From hatchlings just out of the egg to fledglings learning to fly takes 6 weeks for the steppe eagle. The hottest period of summer has reached its end, and the mother's hard work has paid off. Both the steppe eaglets have survived. Now they will have to learn some vital survival skills. In July, nothing blocks the wind as it sweeps over the Karamili Desert. For the steppe eagles, this is a signal. The eaglets are 10 weeks old, and in just a week from now, they must leave their nest. Making the most of the winds, the eaglets fly into the sky. The windy season announces it's time for the birds to migrate. Following the direction of the wind, the migratory birds fly more easily. A journey that will take them halfway around the world is about to begin. On the grasslands of western Xinjiang, the European starlings have started their migration on a large scale. To survive the winter, they will fly to India, where it's warmer. Without the wind to hitch a ride on, life would be impossible for these birds, and the world for all of us would be a different, poorer place.